China's Premier Li Keqiang has kicked off his first official visit to Africa since taking office in 2013. And on his itinerary, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Angola, and Kenya. And the Wall Street Journal's Wayne Ma joins me from Beijing with the significance of this trip. Now, Wayne, what does Mr. Li hope to accomplish? He's already met Ethiopia's Prime Minister this past Sunday, right?
Yes, I think that the main goal is sort of to just continue to kind of develop the relationship. It's a no-brainer to visit Nigeria and Angola because those are two of the top suppliers of crude oil to China. They're very important for China's energy needs. Kenya is an important hub for commodities. In fact, during this visit, they signed a deal to begin imports of beef from Kenya to China.
All right. Now, of all these four countries, which do you think is the most important, the most pivotal for China's growth?
I think definitely Angola, mainly because it's a major producer of crude oil. It consistently ranks among the top three suppliers of crude oil to China. The main issues surrounding China and Africa has always been whether or not China is simply siphoning resources away from Africa in exchange, for relatively limited returns. Usually, African countries, ask Chinese companies to, invest in infrastructure, to create employment. Things like that.
Is this a mutually agreed relationship, or does one side, maybe potentially Africa, look a little bit more, with a wary eye, but sort of knowing what's going on with what China is doing?
I think there's always been a suspicion of Chinese investment in African countries, but the thing is China is flush with cash, and Africa needs investment.
Right. And earlier we were talking about, well, you were telling me about how a few African governments have actually criticized China for promising but then not delivering, in particular the countries of Tanzania and Cameroon, which are pretty interesting. So tell me about that again.
Well, every time there's a major visit, state visit to China or by a Chinese leader to African countries, there's billions of deals signed or billions of dollars in loans promised. But it always remains to be seen how much of that money or how much of those projects are actually going to get off the ground. It's easy to announce things. It's much harder when you get on the ground to actually follow through. At a recent press briefing in Beijing, a newspaper reporter asked, well, China promised to upgrade one of Tanzania's ports last year. How come that project hasn't been completed yet? A Cameroonian reporter asked, last year China promised, or 3 years ago China promised to sell 2 major commercial planes to the Cameroon government, and those planes haven't been sold yet.
Probably, very likely, China's investments in Africa will continue. You were saying earlier that China's investment in Africa in 2013 was $25 billion. I think we probably figure that is going to go even higher into the future. Now, Premier Li, I understand, will be in Africa for a full week through May 11th. And Wayne, we'll check back in with you if we need to as things progress over there.